Hey Liz, yes, I heard that you went ahead and did it your way, and now the economy is crashing. Yeah, just called to say, told you so.
Rishi Sunak is having the last laugh. The UK is not okay and it is in a financial crisis. Prime Minister Liz Truss and Chancellor of the Exchequer, Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng's plans to rescue the British economy has not been too well received.
While we were sleeping last night, the UK economy faced a major financial crisis.
A warning from the IMF, central bank intervention.
A currency collapse, soaring borrowing rates, investors and businesses in despair.
Truss and Kwarteng announced a plan to put an extra £411 billion of public borrowings over the next 5 years. But after citizens and members of parliament from Truss's very own Conservative Party objected to the plan, the new Prime Minister was forced to drop it. However, the damage was already done. Truss and Kwarteng's moves undermined the Bank of England, which is the UK's reserve bank. The pound collapsed and the London stock market, the FTSE FTSE, went into a free fall. Since then, they have announced no plan to bring back public finances into balance. They have also added fuel to the cost of living crisis, and having spooked the markets already, they spooked them again by hinting that even more unfunded tax cuts are on the way. As a result, but there is one man who can brag and say, "I told you so." Truss's main rival for the PM post and India's very own damaad, Rishi Sunak.
I told you so.
Early in his contest with Truss, former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak had made it clear that he was against tax cuts. He even predicted the impact of Liz Truss's tax-cutting plans.
I'd love to stand here and say, look, I'll cut this tax, that tax, and another tax, and it will all be okay. But you know what? It won't. There's a cost to these things. The cost of higher inflation, higher mortgage rates, eroded savings. And you know what? This something-for-nothing economics isn't conservative, it's socialism.
To be fair, let's hear what Liz Truss said.
Rishi, you have raised taxes to the highest level in 70 years. That is not going to drive economic growth.
And now, let's see what's actually happening.
Now, the British pound has fallen to its lowest level ever against the US dollar.
Let's see what Truss said when she was discussing the viability of her proposed tax changes before the election.
But I'm afraid to say the plans of raising taxes are likely to lead to a recession, and with a recession, it'll be harder to pay the debt down.
And what did Damaad Sunak say?
Because she thinks her tax cut is going to help them, which it is not. We are going to leave millions of incredibly vulnerable people at the risk of real destitution.
Let's actually see what happened.
It's been barely a month since Liz Truss took over the reins from Boris Johnson. Her recent tax cuts have only fueled further discontent and outrage across Britain.
Rishi Sunak had denounced Truss's economic policy, or Trussonomics, for months before the election. But he was dismissed as a pessimist and in some cases had to face criticism like this.
I think Rishi Sunak was not a successful Chancellor who was not alert to the inflationary problem.
Because he's the only man, according to the polls, who could beat Starmer.
That's mainly to do with name recognition.
In August, an article in The Spectator labelled Sunak desperate for his early warnings that the pound and the markets would free fall if Truss cuts taxes. Despite the criticism, Sunak doubled down on his warnings and reminded Truss that cutting taxes for the ultra-wealthy would be a huge mistake.
So I don't think the responsible thing to do right now is launch into some unfunded spree of borrowing and more debt. That will just make inflation worse. It will make the problem longer.
While Sunak has made no public statements on the impact of Truss's policies, the UK's current financial woes are Sunak's "I told you so" moment. Finance Minister Kwasik announced the big U-turn, that the government is scrapping the 45% tax cuts paid by people earning more than £155,000 a year.